We are surrounded by all kinds of symbols, and all those symbols have certain meaning. They are designed by us humans for better communication between us. We may not learn foreign languages, but we can use some signs or symbols to express, for example, our feelings. Look at your phone, for instance. Instead of typing all the words, you can use a shortcut or send a smiling face to a friend, or a thumb down to express your disapproval of something. Even if you send one of these symbols to a person who lives in another country and speaks a totally different language than yours, he or she will understand that symbol. Similarly with road signs, they are almost all the same. So while driving a car in a country you are visiting, you would immediately understand what they mean. However, we also have that one symbol which I would say is probably the most recognizable in our world. And this is a symbol that has been with us for centuries. It is the symbol of the crucifix, a cross. Whether you believer or not, Christian or not, we all know what the cross means. It is a symbol of Christianity. There are all kinds of crucifixes, some very simple and plain, some very expensive, some beautiful and decorative, made of gold and expensive stones. There are very small crosses that people might be wearing around their necks, and some huge ones placed on the top of churches and basilicas. I think there is no single person on this planet that would not have seen the cross, nor wouldn't know what it symbolizes. And sometimes we forget about that, or we don't even want to remember, but the crucifix was a tool made for torturing people, a tool of suffering and slow death. We Catholics are reminded about this during Holy Week each year when we celebrate the liturgy of Good Friday. The Son of God, our Lord Jesus Christ, suffered and died on the wood of the cross. Terrible suffering and death. Not only that, but the crucifix was also made to humiliate people. Only the worst criminals were crucified. So that's what people did to the Son of God. Made him suffer, die, and be humiliated. And what did the Son of God do? He forgave them. He loved them until the end. He didn't seek revenge after the resurrection. He didn't punish them for what they did to him. Jesus transformed that tool of death into a symbol of love. Ever since, the crucifix is no longer associated with death and suffering, but it has become a symbol of love and forgiveness that Christ brought to his people. So now listen to what Jesus said in the Gospel we read this Sunday. He said, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross and follow me." Take up his or her cross and follow me. I must admit that when I heard these words of Jesus before, I always understood that he wanted me not to complain about my own sufferings, failures, and all those bad things that happen in my life, but to accept them and follow the Lord. Stop crying and complaining about your life, I would say to myself. Look at Jesus and his suffering, get yourself together and follow him. Yet is this what Jesus meant by saying, "Take up your cross and follow me"? Just think about that for a moment. If the cross was transformed by our Lord from being a tool of torture and death into a symbol of forgiveness and love, then this is my cross now that I must take with me and follow Christ. He calls us Christians to bring his love and his forgiveness to people around us. Take up your cross. Take up your love and follow me. If you want to be my disciple, you must spread the love of Christ unto others. You shall become more like Jesus, forgiving, loving, peaceful, humble. You must help others. You must love God and love your neighbor. This is exactly the cross that Jesus invites you to bear and to follow him. The greatest symbol of this world, a crucifix, is a symbol of love, not a symbol of death. A Christian must be like Jesus' cross, a symbol of love, and we must bring that cross to this world. So simple. So let's go to work, and God bless you.